Welcome back, Goddess. This is Andrea with You Are Mind, Body, Soul. And in this temple space, I guide your inner goddess to bridge the mind, body, and soul through psychosomatic education, consciousness reconditioning, as well as alchemy and energetics. Come on in. It feels so good to be here. We have a wonderful, wonderful topic that we are talking about, and it is embracing your inner tantrika, which is goddess energy. So, a long time ago, when I created the concept for You Are Mind, Body, Soul, all of this that I'm sharing with you are just concepts that I have been allowing to flow through me in the form of my devotional understanding, my practices, and my research. And when I really started to realize that I was a teacher, that I was a guide, and that it was my life's purpose to share my growth from predominantly challenges. It's been a very challenging life, which I've talked about in the past, that the way that I have done this is through my goddess energy. And one of the things that I am starting to honor and to remember, which is piece back together and to reorient and align with the current state of consciousness that I am in as a 36-year-old woman that has had lifetimes of experience. Like, I've lived multiple lifetimes in this one lifetime. And when I started to use the term goddess back in like 2013, it was just something that felt right for me. And so now, as I'm, really trying to integrate this new stage of consciousness that I'm in, and the new woman that I am in, the new identity that I am in, I'm finding the memory and the remembrance that my whole journey, and the truth is just outright that my entire journey with this goddess lifestyle started through my tantric sexual energy, sensual energy, which is Kundalini. And the Kundalini awakenings that I've had, the tantric experiences that I've had, predominantly on my own, but yes, also with partners. And so tantric energy is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to have a rudimentary general conversation about it. But before I get too deeply into the topic, I want to remind you to please like this video so that the algorithm can do its magical, mysterious thing. Please remember to share the video so that other goddesses such as yourself can receive these downloads. And please remember to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you so much, with humility, for just honoring the work that I do here in this space with your subscription, and not being a lurker. So we appreciate that. All right. So let's get into the topic. What is tantric energy? I believe in my core that tantric energy for a woman is her goddess energy, because there is the trifecta. So I work a lot in threes. I love numerology. I love angel numbers, and three is one of like the most important numbers of my life. I think I'm even like a life path three. Okay. So when we are talking about the form in which the goddess manifests itself for us to understand and digest, we're talking about goddess energy, which is your divine energy. It is what your soul calling is. It is how you identify your soul in the vast stream of this reality that is constructed by our ego. It is the thing that supersedes the ego and recognizes that we come from something much greater than what we can see with our own naked eye and with our own logical ego mind. The goddess energy supersedes that. So, although we are here in these feminine bodies, there are a lot of masculine things that we have to do. And there are a lot of masculine principles that we are also governed by. So, from a psychological space, when you're moving through life, you can't just move through life in your feminine energy, which is just flow and everything's just as it should be, and we're going here and we're fluffing this. Like, you can't just live your life like that, because then you wouldn't have a sense of how to protect yourself or how to get anywhere in life. You would always just be in this state of floating, right? And then there is your masculine energy, which most of us are pretty familiar with, which creates the structure and the form and the definition of what we are then filling our feminine energy with, right? So, when we are working with goddess energy and tantric energy from a psychological standpoint, it's just easy to see that you can't live your life from one frame of mind, which is always trying to find structure, always trying to get somewhere, the masculine energy to find something, control something, or the feminine energy, which can quite literally be the opposite of that. You need both. Okay. Energetically, you need your masculine and your feminine energy to allow yourself to move through life. Within our bodies, going up the spine in our energy centers, we have two pathways. One pathway comes from this direction, and then the other pathway comes from that direction. And what they do is they flow away and then they come in to one another. They flow away and then they come in to one another. All right. And as this energy is flowing through your body, starting from the base, moving up, it meets at a center point and they converge and they cross and they dance and they go away and then they come back together and then they move together. So there is always this harmonious movement, or ideally, there is a harmonious movement of this energy coming back and forth. Now, if you've ever had a Kundalini awakening, you know that energy needs to be moved. Kundalini is sentient. She wants to move through these centers. Okay. Now, I don't want to make this all about Kundalini. I'm really trying to keep this overarching goddess energy paradigm here for you. Okay. But if you ever had a Kundalini awakening, you know that if you are experiencing any of the symptoms, any of the challenges, all that is it comes from Kundalini trying to move up each of those channels in any kind of blocks that you have in your energy system. This is tantric energy at its finest. And what moves this energy through your energy centers is pranic energy. Okay. Kundalini, life force energy is moved through pranic energy. Okay. Well, pranic energy is life force energy. Kundalini energy is a sentient energy that is just this primal life force that moves through us. And when you're able to move that, have clear channels and have energy flowing through your body, you're living a life of ecstasy. You're living a life full of alignment and beauty and brilliance. Okay. And I would also like to just warn anyone that's listening to this video, if you think that it's safe for you to try to incite a Kundalini awakening on your own, I would advise that you get guidance, that you maybe join one of my coaching containers that will probably be open in January. You could definitely check out some of the courses. Everything that I do and talk about prepares you, prepares your energy, prepares your consciousness for that movement and that dance and that experience to happen in your body. It's not something that you want to jump into because it can be very, 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 very dangerous. Okay. And I'm telling you 1 from 100. Okay. And let me know if you've ever had a Kundalini awakening or if you're curious about Kundalini, because what I want to do as I'm have come back from this break and we're now moving into the divine feminine energy is really just start to peel back the layers. So there's a lot of things that we've talked about up to this point on this channel. We've had long conversations, deep conversations about things that really support us in the physical three-dimensional realm, but in the energy realm is where the real work happens. And so I want to start to just communicate to you from the space where I am at, because that's where the story is right now. And that's just what spirit is guiding me to do with you. Okay. So I like to think of the way that Kundalini moves is through two things: progress and through pleasure. Okay. So your tantric energy, which is the energy of the masculine and the feminine energy moving up the channels of your body, is going to be facilitated through your states of pleasure. So, allowing yourself to be relaxed in a space where you can feel pleasure from a subtle body realm. So, for over a decade now, I've been working with the subtle body. It started in the form of osteopathic medicine and shadowing an osteopathic doctor, and then moving on to get Reiki attuned, and then moving on to work with Thai body work, and then most recently to move on with athletic recovery and stretching and learning about fascia and learning about lymphatic system and having a background in neuroscience and all of these things that have just contributed to my journey. Okay. So the pleasure aspect of really being able to become awakened in your tantric energy comes from your ability to experience that and to have and to hold levels of pleasure in your body. Okay. And in the 14-day Mind, Body, Soul Reset course that you can check out on the website, which may be updated from our recent live one, I teach you how to cleanse and how to reset yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually, so that you can start to have more real pleasure rather than being reliant on dopamine. And this is like primary goddess objective, is having actual genuine pleasure in your life and in your body at deep levels, at great levels. I do a lot of body work with people. So I'll be like stretching, doing some assisted stretching and opening something up. Right. And a lot of times when I get people, and they haven't been moved or they haven't been stretched in a certain way, the body has all different types of reactions, which is why we don't play with Kundalini. So like there may be shaking, there may be like hollering. Sometimes people holler. The nervous system, the neuromuscular system sometimes has problems with getting underway with these things, and we think that when these things show up in our bodies that we should be brushing them off, or like they're not very important. But the more deep into your goddess energy work that you get through meditations, you can look at any of the meditations that I've had on YouTube, you can check out any of the courses to learn how to meditate and get into your body. But those things are so that you can get attunement with your subtle body. Because feminine pleasure, just like when we are aroused or when we are turned on at a fairly standard level, it takes a little bit more time for us to get our juices flowing than it does for men. So it's the same thing when you are finding pleasure in just existing in a state of stillness or peace, or being mindful in that moment and finding pleasure from it. So when we're working with tantric energy, it comes from your ability to be present with your pleasure, whatever that looks like, and really feeling into it. And as you elevate through your goddess journey and you awaken and you align and you do the work, join the course, get the coaching, you realize that you're able to hold even more space for pleasure and expansion. And that is just such a wonderful place to be. Like, I just love the space where I am now as 36 years old, and just the connections that we are able to build as humans, and the robustness of the connectivity and the connection that I'm able to experience from this level of conscious, because I have subtle body awareness. Okay. And that's the power of becoming a tantrika and allowing your goddess energy to really be activated and to flow through you. It's pleasure based. Now, the other thing about Kundalini and Tantric energy is it is progressive. It is a progressive energy. So, feminine energy in its light aspect versus the shadow aspect is moving, it is robust, it is flowing. It could be flowing, it could be gushing, it could be rushing, it could be dripping, it could be flowing. But either way, there is some type of movement when you're really activated in your feminine energy. And it's the same thing when we're talking about tantric energy. Okay, there is a flow, there is a progression, there is a progression, there is an elevation that is going to move you across the spectrum of your life experience. So a lot of times as women, we can experience our life all just through the mind. Like you're overthinking everything, you're overanalyzing things. And then when you overanalyze, usually you tend to be disconnected from your body and you find that you're being overworked, which has happened to me. The ego is just taking over because we don't have that spiritual connection to anchor us into what actual rhythm looks like. Okay. So, just as a rule of thumb, if you are basing your life rhythm on when you get paid, how much you work, and those kind of things, and that is the center focus of your life, I want to challenge you to reorient and recenter the flow of your life from a standpoint of what do I need from my internal rhythm. Okay. So, just to recap, Tantric energy makes way for Kundalini energy to move up when we are allowing ourselves to experience pleasure and when we are allowing progress and flow to happen through the body. And progress only comes when we are able to do the work to excavate anything that is blocking those channels. Okay. Now, we want to tune into our personal cycles. So, like I said, you don't want to center your whole life around when am I getting paid? What do they need from me for work? What they need from me over here? How I need to show up? How I need to define myself in the world? You want to define who you are, and you want to find your progress and your ability to progress through life through your own internal rhythm. And the 14-day Mind, Body, Soul Reset course is super clutch for that because we talk about the different seasons that are happening to us. So there's always some kind of rhythm. So once energy starts moving through your body, if you've ever had like this type of sensual experience, there's always like a rhythm that is involved that really helps to move it along. And as a shaman and as a drummer and being connected with that instrument, I know that whenever I drum, like whenever I go to a drum circle and I'm just beating on that drum, that's when I start to awaken, right? Because there is a rhythm and there's something for all of this magical, mysterious stuff that's happening in our bodies that we talk about in the Feminine Mystery Academy at my website, yambs.co. We talk about all of these things. So when we're able to attune with rhythm, we're able to create more progress, and it allows you to be an even more embodied goddess, an even more embodied tantrika. So bringing awareness of the cycles that we have. The simplest one is your sleep wake cycle, which works with the sun and the moon. That is a micro cycle. You have your monthly rhythm, which is a 28-day cycle where your menses come, or you are really just flowing with the moon. Doesn't matter whether or not you have your womb, you're still flowing with the moon, which goes on that same 28-day cycle, recognizing how well that cycle's going for you, how it's flowing through you. Okay. There is the seasonal cycle. Now we're in the feminine season, which is the fall and the winter. The divine masculine season is the spring and the summer. So we are in tune with the seasons and what that means for our bodies. We talk about that in the reset course. There are different things that my body needs during the fall and the winter than what I need in the spring and the summer. In the spring and the summer, I have to deal with allergies. I am a Pitta Ayurvedic dosha, so I'm hot. I run hot. So if I'm exposed to too much heat and I'm not getting real cool sleep at night, I get very irritable. I get more prone to injuries. Like I've injured myself during previous times, and it's always the summer, right? Because that's a more challenging season for my body. And so just being aware of these things about yourself allow you to interact and get in tune with a better, deeper rhythm for your life. And one of the last cycles I want to talk about is a 7 year cycle. So one of the things that I noticed back in my early 20s was that there is a 7 year cycle that I was experiencing. I think I must have read about it or something, but the number seven became very predominant for me in my life when I was in my 20s. And so then I started to make a mental note to myself to check in with how things are progressing. Okay. This might have even been like almost 20 years ago. And I started to notice that this 7 year cycle that I was experiencing was taking me through different stages of consciousness, because when you're working with numerology, you recognize that each and every number has a different value, has a different meaning, has something to offer you. And so I started to really look at that. And this year for me is a 1 year. And it's been very challenging because everything is so brand new. Now, now I'm at this stage of where I'm at, where I'm in my late 30s. It's like not everything is brand new anymore because I've made enough mistakes to be aware of, like, what to look out for. And I'm wise enough now to set myself up intentionally for different timelines and pathways, which I share all of this with you anyway. um but everything's still brand new, and there is the challenge of being that seedling that is first sprouting through the ground of a brand new foundation, right? And all of this that I'm sharing with you, this time that we spend together in this temple academy, is all just the foundation for something greater, which then takes us into this whole different death and rebirth cycle, which is a whole nother cycle. You can go through a death and rebirth cycle at any rate. Okay. So just think about, what are the cycles in my life that I have experienced, and what are they showing me? What do they look like? Where can I find the rhythm in my life? And then this will help you to become a more embodied goddess, more embodied tantrika. Okay. And so we want to find the dance. We want to find the flow of these things throughout our lives so that we can really start to embody that tantric energy. And honestly, that combined with your connection to nature, to Mother Nature, and the time that you spend outside and the time that you spend inside, getting to know yourself, is really going to change and shift and up level all of that. So I hope you enjoyed this content. I love you, and I will catch you in the next one. One love.